I 100% forgot to turn on the audio. Let's start again and race through this. That is embarrassing. I talked a whole bunch too. So, let's start from the top. I will put a note on the video once I'm done that approximately, let's see, where are we at time-wise? Audio, it's not worth putting it in the comments right now because that will only show up right away. So from the top, hopefully, if you check this out, you're patient. I'm going to try and do what I can to make it clear that, okay, there are audio issues, but it is fixed. I did not do this whole thing silently. Thank goodness. That would have sucked. Okay, starting with Blazon from 25th Century Games. You're building out your shield to gain points. It's a pretty looking game. I'm not sure it'd be one for me. Cryptid Cafe. This is going to be a game where you are fulfilling orders. Curious about it. I like the theme. I like that it's a cafe run by Sasquatches. So, interested in that. Gartenbau. This is going to be I say it's a set collection, but I think it's more of a laying out your things, or laying out your cards to create kind of certain patterns, stuff like that, to score points. Gasha, that looks like a very simple set collection game, trying to collect these little figures, something like that. Ghost Love Candy 2, another set collection game where you're ghosts trying to get candy from kids on Halloween. Green Team Wins, a party game. Don't know anything about this. It looks like you're just trying to stay on the green team by the end of the game. Could be interesting. Not super excited for it. Holly Jolly is going to be probably a game of collecting things for points. It's a holiday theme, which is interesting, but not one that jumps out at me. As I was saying, well, I had the audio off because I'm so smart, that it's interesting to see a game with a theme that is a specific holiday, because I don't know that I was apt to pull off a game that is specifically for Christmas in June, for example. Longboard, a drafting game from Dr. Rainer Knizia. Don't know much about this one, like the artwork. Oh My Brain from Bruno Catala and Theo Riviere. A hand management zombie themed game. The cover doesn't interest me that much. Prehistories is going to be a auction game so that you can, I'm assuming, get animals and paint the stories of the animals on the cave walls. Oddly enough, the one from 25th Century Games I'm probably most interested in is Sunny Day Sardines, just because a drafting set collection game, nice low price point. Drafting set collection makes me think of something like Sushi Go Party, so curious about this one. Planets Unknown. I showed off this rotating tray that you have, and you're basically building out your planet, and you rotate it to get the piece that you want in front of you, and then everybody else collects whatever pieces in front of them, so you're having to pay attention to all of that. Dog Lover is going to be a drafting set collection game again about dogs. They also have Cat Lover. The Guild of Merchant Explorers. From what I've heard, this is kind of like a roll and write without actually being a roll and write. So there are some games that I say that about. Draftosaurus, for example, to me feels like a roll and write for all practical purposes, with what you're doing, but you have dinosaur meeples with it, and it's more fun probably because of that. But curious about this one. Same with Ready Set Bet, which is going to be a bidding racing game, and anytime like you have that die rolling, I'm assuming that's going to be to move the horses along. So once you have a bet in, you're going to be invested in the horses. That old wallpaper, a pattern building game of ugly wallpaper that's meant to look like it's from the 60s or 50s, could be fun. I would need to know the price on this one because I'd probably take a flyer on it for like $10, but more no. Wormholes, a hand management space exploration game, sounds interesting, but the cover doesn't excite me that much looking at it. Same actually with this next one from Aaliyah and Richard Garfield, Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. There's no dungeons, dice, or danger on that cover. This cover looks like generic treasure. Could be a fun game, but it doesn't look as exciting. Then we have Dice Hospital ER, Emergency Roll. A roll and write version of Dice Hospital, a game from Alley Cat Games. I am curious about this one because roll and write is a genre that I like of games. They also have Dice Theme Park. This one is going to be a dice manipulation game to get the best dice, get the most customers in your theme park. We have Eternal Palace, an area majority dice game. They tend to do a lot of dice placement sort of games at Alley Cat Games. I almost backed this one actually, or pledged it at some level just to get Paper Dungeons. I picked that up after the fact. I'm really glad I did. You can see playthroughs of that. All right, now that we've caught up in approximately, how many minutes was that? 7 minutes. Well, let's keep cracking. So from Amigo, we have Dice Hunters of Etherion. Another die game of, well, dealing with monsters, things like that. From Richard Garfield. Could be fun. Kind of cute artwork on it. Then there's Don't Llama Dice, a push your luck game. Dice game. I know that Llama has been a game that people like fairly well. It might have been up for an award. I can't remember for sure. Not that interesting for me. From Amigo, we have Froggies. Froggies also, I mean, this looks like a children's game. It is. Probably not for me. Same with Look. And then we get to Magnafix. So this is going to be kind of one of those build up whatever shape it shows as fast as you can. Fastest person wins. That's fine, but doesn't always work the best depending on your audience, depending on who you're playing with. You need a fairly even group of players, otherwise somebody dominates, or even if you have 2-3 people who are very good at it, if one person's bad, then, well, they're always going to feel behind. We have Saboteur, the Dark Cave, a bluffing game to escape the mind. Again, looks very light from Amigo. And another kids game. Where is Mousy? Could be a very fine kids game, and I totally forgot to do this ahead of time. So, Arcane Wonders has Critters at War, Flies, Lies, and Supplies. This is going to be the expansion for Critters at War, which this expansion is the same thing as the expansion for Land, Air, and Sea that came out not that long ago. Land, Air, and Sea is a game I had in my collection. I got rid of. I don't think I'm going to pick up this standalone expansion. Foundations of Rome. Probably not one that I'm going to pick up. Like, you can see the price tag for the really nice everything is $250, $120 MSRP. But a city building game that looks gorgeous on the map. This is a superly big produced game. Very interesting. Picture perfect. One that I'm interested in, not so much the Sherlock expansion. Though that could add something fun to it with kind of that solving the murder. But Picture Perfect is going to be a game where everybody has some information about how people want to be set up, and you're trying to figure that out and get everybody in the right place so that you can take a perfect picture with your phone. And once you do that and you look, you then go and kind of compare and figure out the scoring for it. We have Ruby, Combat Ready, so a cooperative game, expansion to a base game. So, looks like a kind of card battler, except you're battling against an AI, or an opponent that is the game. Ares game has Lost Aurora. Lost Aurora Frozen Steel. It's going to be an expansion for that worker placement game. Orconomics. So they call it a cutthroat game of orc economics, bidding, fantasy theme. I like the goofiness of the theme. This is one that I'd be interested in trying. Don't necessarily know that it worked for me. Quartermaster General, 1914. This is going to be a war type of game. Fast-paced strategy game to create the whole of World War I in 2 hours. Not my type of game necessarily. Artana has Power Failure. Nothing jumps off the table at me for this one, though it looks like it is a small box game with that MSRP of $15. Must just be getting a, US release at this point. We have BA Games, Cult of the Deep, another Cthulhu-themed game. This one's going to be of bribery and bluffing and social deduction, I'm guessing. Probably not for me, then. The Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the Collector's Edition. This is going to be the really nice kind of production version of it. Curious about it. More curious about this one, actually. The more I've heard about this is that you are basically doing a trick-taking game, and you are playing out cards, but none of the cards you have a suit to them. And so you are trying to figure out, or playing down cards to win tricks, and you are determining the suit as you play it down, and eventually you start to get like locked out of suits that you can play, things like that. Really intrigued by this one. Sink or Swim is going to be a real-time-ish game of synchronized swimming. It's going to be one of those games where you have that limited communication, kind of like you would have with something like The Mind or The Crew. It's definitely a genre that is blowing up at this point. I'm not super interested in it. Just, honestly, the aesthetic on this, it just doesn't look great. That's the big thing. Zillionaires Road Trip USA, 3rd edition. So, an auction game of some sort. 3rd edition must have some love for it. I have never heard of it before. Doesn't really sell me on it. Sounds fishy, and these are all from Big Potato Games. A party bluffing game. Not that excited. USPS, the Great American Mail Race. I'm assuming you are trying to get mail from place to place as fast as you can, dropping stuff off where they go. And so it's figuring out the efficiency of that. Then from Blue Orange Games, we have Bag of Chips. This is going to be I'm assuming, well, from what I know of it, you have your bag full of chips. So you are pulling out chips, probably trying not to bust and collect the chips that you need. Downtown Farmers Market, a tile placement game. Ooh, I don't actually know much about this one, and tile placement doesn't tell me a lot. Well, yeah, no, that looks just legit like tile placement. Okay, so this reminds me a little bit of something like Village Green. Village Green, you are scoring for both columns and rows. So like this, you get 2 points for every egg and 1 point for every cheese. Here you get X number of points. This one, if you have no cheese, milk, or corn, you get 8. And so you're trying to make it work both directions. Actually, that is something that I find pretty interesting. So yeah, that's an interested, especially for a $16 MSRP. Museum Suspects, a deduction. Well, it says deduction and bluffing, so I'm guessing social deduction game. Not too interested in that, though it is from Phil Walker Harding. Generally, his stuff is fairly well liked. So if it is, and it does say investigation game, so if it is an investigation game where it is deduction going on versus social deduction, I'm much more interested. The next station, Roll and Write, looks like. Connecting bus or underground, probably underground it looks like, routes. I'm interested in that. Again, another small game from Blue Orange Games. Looks cool. Founders of Teotihuacan. This is not a sequel or an expansion to Teotihuacan, but kind of its own game. It reminds me a little bit of how Isaac Childress did Founders of Gloomhaven, just tying it in with the theme. That way, this one, though, appears to be getting more love than Founders of Gloomhaven did. Lootbox 1, promotional content for their games. I don't have a ton of their games that I know of. So not for me. We have an expansion for Mandala Stones, Harmony. I haven't played Mandala Stones. It'd be one I'd be interested in trying. And then Tawantinsuyu, an expansion for that game. It's not necessarily the type of game that I'm interested in. This is the one that I expect to be quite big here at Gen Con, is Terracotta Army. Just because a lot of people do like those Euro games, the T games that Board and Dice put out. So I'm not that interested in this one, but if you are interested in it, I would probably go and try and check it out pretty fast. From BoardGameTables.com, who they're the ones who made my board game table, we have Bear Raid, a economic speculation game with bears. It's a fun theme, not necessarily my type of game. I'd give it a try. Dandelions, an area control sort of game. I will not play this game just out of principle because I have neighbors who they don't deal with their dandelions, which means I don't deal with my dandelions either because there's no reason to. But I prefer not to have a dandelions. Factory Funner, a game where you're putting together your factory and just kind of letting a machine run. This is a second edition or a new edition from Board Game Tables. I know there are people who love this game or people who think it's just okay. Ghost of Christmas, one that I own. I need to play it still, but it's a trick-taking game. You're playing 3 tricks at once, and with those 3 tricks, when you eventually, they're all full, you figure out past, present, then future. And based off of what happens in the previous ones, that can change the trump color, so you have to be factoring that in as you go. Psychic Pizza Deliverers Go to the Ghost Town. This is a deduction game. I'm curious about it, mainly because of the name. Bombix has Garden Nation. Where you're trying to build out your own garden. Apparently, thought this one looked interesting. Not sure. I'm not quite sure why, actually. Still not quite sure why. Could be interesting. Clear. There we go. Nicodemus. An action selection game of building up a factory or trying to do the best you can. I mean, the theme is Nicodemus Gideon is retiring, as you can see. So everybody try and do the best you can. Get your points. At the end of the game, the person with the most points gets the factory. Or whatever. Breaking Games, they have a number of things for asking for troubles. This is a worker placement game that looks kind of fun. I like the goofiness of how it looks. We have asking for troubles, companions, troublemakers, and then, of course, Dwellings of Eldervale, game I have on my shelf that I need to play still. There's Luck, the game. 4 in a row style auction. Apparently that is a thing, because there was another one we saw that said that as well. Nothing stands out to me about that. Bright Eyes Games has Core Quest. There's an expansion coming on Kickstarter. I forget if it's later this year or next year. But this is basically going to be a light dungeon crawler, like say, for the entire family. I'm interested mainly at looking at this one. Now, from Brotherwise Games, we have one that I kind of want to pick up. I almost backed this on Kickstarter, held off on it. Don't really regret it, but I am tempted. Call to Adventure Epic Origins is going to be kind of a prequel to the Call to Adventure games. Yeah, I don't remember a ton about this. I actually got to play Call to Adventure recently, the cooperative version for the Stormlight Archives, and I really enjoyed that. Planted, this one I believe is already out. Set collection, or setting up your own house plants and trying to be able to grow them, from what I know about it. It looks pretty. It's a good theme. I want to see it on the table, see if it looks like it'd be one for me or my group. Same with Arc Nova. Arc Nova obviously is one of the hottest games out there right now. I want to say this is number 7 overall. So in the BGG Top 100, this hasn't been out that long. It is number 7, behind the likes of Gloomhaven, Pandemic Legacy, Brass, Second Gloomhaven, Terraforming Mars, and Twilight Imperium 4th edition. So clearly has shot up the ranks fast. Very interested in seeing this one. I would love to be able to demo it. I think it's probably too big and heavy for how I normally play games or with my game group. Though if it's good at 2, could stick around for that. Then we have Catherine, the Cities of Tessarina. Don't know anything about this one. That cover kind of tells me it's probably not for me. Rift Force. This is an expansion to the base game. Yes, yeah, you should move to Minnesota so that we can just, well, it would probably save both of us a fair amount of money because we could split who gets the campaign games too. I believe Rift Force is I guess it's not a head-to-head game, but it kind of has that, I don't know, deck or card battler look. It's an expansion for Terra Mystica. In fact, 2 of them. We have the Automa, so the solo, as well as then the big box that can fit everything in. From Chile Island Games, we have Soulmates, a party card game. No. That just seems like it's probably meant for drunk college kids, honestly. How well do you know your friends? Can you find your soulmate? Yeah, that's for drunk college kids. Top 10 quiz. It's a trivia game. That is a terrible tagline. Play your way through 2 boxes from 7 different categories. Oh my goodness, if you were to put me to sleep with something, that'd be it. Chili Fox Games. Now, I own this one. I need to play it still. This is a roll and write game where you are also going, or there's a ship going up and down the fjord, and it goes back and forth, and it limits what you kind of want to do, because as it moves down and you pass certain docks or things, now it's less advantageous to fill in areas on your sheet. City of Games has their Isle of Cats as well as their roll and write. I own all of it, so yeah, don't need to pick those up. From Crowdy Games, we have Artbox. Looks like a drawing game, trying to draw something using only specific shapes. Deep State. I feel like okay, it's expansion for Deep State New World Order. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I recognize that with that. That's a game of political intrigue, stuff like that. It looks like it's probably going to be fairly cutthroat, so not too interested. Enigma Beyond the Code. A memory game. Basically, code breaking, maybe? Not sure. Curious about it, though. A code breaking game where you're bluffing. Yeah. I like the theme as well. I'm assuming you were talking about Enigma there. Oh, for Deep State? Yeah, the theme for Deep State doesn't actually draw me in. Enigma, the theme draws me in a little bit more, but I don't know, a memory style game, less interesting. And then Ganesha, a pattern building mandala game. Probably pretty, but that's not a great rating. Don't know how many ratings it has. 94 ratings. Fairly mixed. And then Windmill, Cozy Story Time, and Cute Secrets. Storytelling bluffing game. Storytelling games, I want to like them more than I generally do. I like Gloom, but that's been about it for storytelling games. I guess I didn't mind Winter Tales, I think it was. That one was fine. Then we have Winter Queen. I remember seeing this one. It looks... I don't know. It's again one of those covers that doesn't draw me in. Days of Wonder has their new version of Ticket to Ride, which Ticket to Ride is a great game. This is a smaller version of it, 10 to 15 minutes. I still have regular Ticket to Ride. I don't really need to grab more. So a storytelling game, so something like Gloom is, I mean, technically you don't have to tell any story for that. But as you play down cards for like the bad things that happen to your characters, as you try and kill them off when they're as miserable as possible, you just kind of fill in the story and tell what happened to them. Or once upon a time, you are trying to play out cards from your hand while telling a story, but never having that long a pause in what you're doing. You're just trying to keep talking off the top of your head. Dead Alive has Omicron Protocol. Fighting together to survive the apocalypse. That is a theme I like. Curious about it, but I don't know, the cover doesn't completely sell me on this one. Devious Weasel Games has Cosmic Frog. It seems like this one always shows up on the list, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cosmic Frog kind of goes in and out of print, which is why they announce when it comes back in print. Generally well liked, though, I don't know. I like the artwork, but I don't know if I want to play a game with that artwork. The Mirroring of Mary King. Fighting for the control of a body. That feels like it's just going to be a lot of take that. DeVere has Home Sweet Home or Not. Cooperative game. Trying to get everything in the home back to normal. They also have an expansion for the Red Cathedral. It's an art style that I don't mind, but also an art style I would never play that game. We have Dire Wolf has an expansion for Dune Imperium. I have yet to play Dune Imperium. This might be a chance to sit down and do a quick demo of it at Gen Con. So we'll see. Dolphin Hat has Give Me That. A dexterity children's roll and write. Doomlings. This reminds me of like a Munchkin style game. I think less take that and goofier. Basically, you're collecting these Doomlings to get the most points, I believe, and trying not to have bad things happen, using powers, stuff like that. It looks fun. If this was like a 20-minute game, I'd be more interested. They say 20 to 45, which probably means it's 30 to 45, unless you're playing 2 players. Then you can maybe knock it out fast. Usurp the King. Not that interested. Kind of an area control, or I'm assuming influence. You're trying to influence certain people to be able to, when somebody finally kills the king, take the throne. This is a flicking game where you're racing around a track. Looks hilarious. I really should check out, I believe Quackalope has some coverage on this, of dodos riding dinos from Draco Studios. Looks fun. Dragonbond, Battles of Valaren. I mean, they say that these two and Kiwi Chowdown are going to be available. I'm guessing probably to demo, with no images available. Lords of Avala. So, yeah, an area control game, which I think the interesting thing is that you can play as generals or dragons, but you can then align or ally with each other. This was one on Kickstarter. Curious about it for sure. I like it. I like the theme. I don't know that I need more area control games. That's the big thing. It would have to bump something out almost. I would have to bump something out of Lords of Hellas and Blood Rage, which is probably fairly tricky to do. Party Panda Pirates, another dexterity game. Draco Studios seems to do a lot of those. Regroup Chicken Army. Fight for Glory. In a pattern building card game. That sounds weird. I'd be interested in checking it out. Yeah, I'm sure that... Wow, that even has a 2023 date, so my guess is that would only be there to demo. Just a box cover. I mean, this 100% looks like your type of game, Fatal. So from Dragon Dawn Productions, they were actually the company that sent me this game back here, Perdition's Mouth, which was a lot of fun. But they also have Factory 42, where you are competitively running a factory. So you're trying to optimize what you're doing on your turn to get as many points as you can, to do as much as you can, while leaving as little as possible for the next person after you, which is a cool concept in theory. I believe Glory Hound had a playthrough of this, and it just didn't interest me. It's a worker placement sort of game. And Grey Eminence, Year of Chaos. I have no idea what Grey Eminence is, but that cover looks like clip art stacked on top of each other, unfortunately. Meisho, an Orkney Saga. Hand management survival game for 1 to 2 players. That actually is a bit interesting to me. They tend to do a fair number of games that they limit the amount of luck that's in those games. So, could be interesting. I'll have to see. DV Giochi has Deckscape and Detective. These are going to be your sort of escape room style games. Wonderland, and you can't cheat death. I haven't played either Deckscape or Detective. I'd be interested in trying them, but they're ones that I'm going to pick up when I need a game like that versus just pick it up immediately and go with it. Eggert Spiel has Great Western Trail, Rails of the North expansion for Great Western Trails. Yep. Haven't played Great Western Trails from Alexander Pfister. Not super interested to. Elf Creek Games has Merchants of the Dark Road. This was one that was really hot on Kickstarter, then delivered, and has been kind of lukewarm on it. I think generally people like it, but because of how insane the production was and just how cool it looked in theory, it just ended up falling a little bit short of those expectations. Everything Epic has the Librarian's Adventure card game. I've actually played this one. I played it 2 years ago. So 2020. Before they put it up on Kickstarter later that year for the digital Gen Con. It's an interesting game. Let's see. We were playing it on Tabletop Simulator and not all the images and assets and stuff are there, so it was a little bit rough looking. I'd love to kind of get my hands on this and see what it looks like in person. You can see it's on my wish list. It's a theme. I love the Librarians TV show, so it's one that I want to play for that, and I would always play as Ezekiel Stone. But I'm curious. I wonder what the price they're selling it for is. Exploding Kittens, Hand-to-Hand Wombat. Another dexterity game. This one, I believe, was on Kickstarter as well. You are trying to stack up things. Of course, it always takes you to the top corner. Not this section that I want here, where you're trying to do all those things, but one person, and you're trying to do that without seeing, but one person could potentially be a traitor, and you're trying to figure out who that is. Not that interested. Happy Salmon. This is a game that has been out for quite a while at this point. I've seen it in the wild before. Not that interested. Zombie Kittens. Don't know. They call it a hot potato style game. Anything from Exploding Kittens is not that interesting for me. Fantasy Flight Games, we have Cosmic Encounter, Cosmic Odyssey. This actually makes me tempted to get back Cosmic Encounter because there's a campaign for this expansion. And yeah, Hand-to-Hand Wombat is a great name. We have the revised core set for Lord of the Rings. I actually just got the original core set in trade. So while I want to play the game, I'm not going to pick up a new core set for it. We have the expansion for Outer Rim. I actually kind of want to try Outer Rim. Then I can see if I get the expansion. And we have Twilight Inscription. So this is a roll and write game that can last 2 hours. You think Hadrian's Wall is complex? That only had 2 sheets. This has 4. At least my understanding of it. I actually am really curious about this one. It can be played solo, which my guess is if you can play it solo, you can probably get it down to that 90 minutes or less. One I want to try. First Fish Games has Ducks in a Row. This is I believe it has some pattern matching or like duck collecting as you move around the board trying to pick up ducks and fulfill certain cards to score points. It was on Kickstarter. Looks fine. Doesn't look necessarily like my sort of game. And then we have a Town Builder. This is apparently an exclusive version of the game. It's a duck builder game. Oh. It really should have been. That would have been perfect. I have no idea about this game. Not bad rating. Drafting with a solo mode for some city building. Okay, I want to look and see what this looks like. Just because this is a Kickstarter or convention exclusive version, that is what I call a okay looking game. Floodgate has Decorum. Decorum is going to be a cooperative puzzle game. Again, limited communication. We are playing through a bunch of different scenarios, and then it can randomly generate new scenarios for you of trying to get a house set up properly. And you're swapping out different pieces by color, whatnot, and you have to work with your opponents, or not opponents, but the other players to try and get it right for everybody. Fog of Love, Lockdown Edition, no. Fog of Love, and this is an expansion for it, is a game where you are basically doing like a relationship type thing. And so like you're a couple in the game, and then you do things to better it for yourself. So it's this weird thing, cooperative-ish. I was intrigued by the game when it came out, less so now. Kites, cooperative real-time game. Real-time, I'm out. I will be picking up this one. I would say almost for sure, though. Sagrada, the Great Facades. This is the third of the 3 expansions, the Great Facade expansions. I was really hoping that Sagrada Legacy was going to be out at Gen Con. I think Floodgate Games, from what I can tell, they were hoping it was going to be out at Gen Con because they had a launch party for it that I was going to try and get into. But that got canceled, which means to me that most likely shipping delays got them. Or even printing too, because there were plenty of printing delays. Noggin, a real-time word game, nah. From Format Games. Real-time, I'm out. So wrong, it's right. Answer trivia questions wrongly in order to get the right answer. I'm assuming it's probably going to be one of those everybody votes on what they find to be the funniest sort of thing, or the person who read the trivia question. Let's look at the cover. That probably can tell us all we need to know. That doesn't even look like a game. Oh, you got it. It's New York. Oh, you flipped it. It's York New. Oh, you switched it. It's you Nork. Oh, you Orc. Or completely wrong. Oh, man. Yeah. Okay, so I'm assuming you probably... Oh. Yeah, no, that looks stupid. Sorry. Sorry, Format Games. That is a game that will sell at Target, at Walmart. It's also a game I will never look at again or pick up. Foxmind. We have kids game. Go Pop Presto. And a party game. Dexterity. Trying to... It looks kind of like one of those games where you're trying to just match up the sides as fast as you can. Yeah, fine. Not that interested. Funko Games. Funko Games, I think, has a fair number of games here. We have a Goofy movie game. Not that interesting. Like the Goofy movie, I forget what year that came out, but just wasn't part of necessarily my childhood. And then we have Big Thunder Mountain, E.T. Now this one is cool, the Universal Monsters for Funkoverse game, just because it's all in black and white. I haven't played the Funkoverse game. It seems fun, but it also seems like one of those you would start buying a set, you buy another set, and be like, oh, I have 2 of them. Let me track down a few more, and then all of a sudden you are like 8 sets of things. And you're like, well, I'm not that far away from having all of them, and then you're spending time on eBay hunting down like some set that is out of print. Rear Window. That is very good self-control, only to have 2 to 3 sets. Yeah, Funko and Prospero Hall, their stuff seems generally like it's light and fun. Fun Whiz, Sports Dice. Roll Your Way to Victory, which sounds fairly lucky. It could be intriguing to sit down and try. Galacta, Shadow Planet. This is a sci-fi horror miniatures game. Again, it's one that I wouldn't mind sitting down and trying or just looking at a little bit. Ares Games, I'm trying to think if, they do have some tables for demoing. At least they did in 2019, so hopefully they will. Gale Force 9, Area Control, Arrakis, Dawn of the Fremen. This one is a new game. So Gale Force 9 also has Dune, like the reprint of the older Dune game. I'm curious about this just because it is Dune themed. Firefly, Misbehavin'. Card game. It's a theme that I like better than Dune, Firefly, so curious about it. Star Trek Ascendancy, that game has been around for a long time. Have not gotten into it at all. Don't plan to. Starfinder. Card play conflict resolution. It's just some of these descriptors I feel like are so long that they lose meaning. Game Brewer has Hippocrates. So it's going to be a game where you're trying to collect stuff or go to certain spots, get stuff so that you can complete, as it says, contracts. So that means so you can heal people. There is an expansion for Paris. Haven't played that one, though it's from Kramer and Kiesling. Or Kiesling and Kramer. So probably one that a lot of people will be checking out. There's Rule Benders. Time travel. Or theme travel. Interesting. I'm assuming it messes with the rules as you go. Not that interested. Stroganov. This one was on Kickstarter, definitely one that people were excited for. Good ratings, probably one that people are going to be tracking down. We have Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, Tiny Epic Dungeons, Tiny Epic Pirates. All of these are the deluxe edition, so these are going to be the kind of the Kickstarter edition, so the nicer, more stuff jammed into probably, I think, 2 small boxes instead of just 1. I am curious about Tiny Epic Dungeons. Tiny Epic Dinosaurs is more of a worker placement. This is going to be a dungeon crawler, just crammed into a tiny box. The pirate one looked fine, not that interested. Games Workshop has Blitz Bowl. Combat Arena, Warhammer Quest. Okay, the Warhammer Quest one does sound interesting. Cooperative, kind of exploration, card battling. Probably some solid minis with this one. Game Right has Chonky Donkey. Yeah, Chonky Donkey. A party game trying to get people to laugh. Yep, that's what I would expect. Loose Caboose. Weird. So you're trying to build out tracks faster than the caboose is falling down your tracks. Curious? We have Cellulose from Genius Games. Cellulose, Cytosis, Ecosystem, Genotype, Periodic. I don't know why Periodic is on here. That one has been out for quite a while. Genotype has been out for a little while. Ecosystem, I believe they just got the printing rights for this one. But this is a drafting, like a pattern building game, which sounds interesting to me. So I want to check it out, especially with that $15 MSRP. Cytosis, I believe, is already out as well. That one came out before Cellulose. So it's more games that have been out. I actually own Periodic. I haven't played it yet. I really should. Gigamic has Acropolis, a city building game. Gigamic is okay for their games for me. We have Critical Foundation, Season 1. Investigate 2035, over 9 30-minute episodes in this guided role-playing adventure. I'm clearly interested. It is a campaign, sci-fi, role-playing, exploration game. I'm there. I want to check this one out for sure. See how it works. See that it doesn't feel too similar to something else, or that the mechanics don't work for me. But I suspect... I should say, I would not be shocked if I come home with this one. If it is, in fact, for sale, I could definitely see grabbing this one. Movie Mind, a quiz game about movies. Recognize famous movies on their pictures. It's like a trivia game in that it is too limited in either you know it or you don't. Grail Game has Fjords, an area influence. I should check this one out just because it is set in Norway. Grand Gamers Guild, we have Aldabas, Doorways of Cartagena. Hand management card game, don't know anything about it. Endangered, so Endangered is going to be a cooperative game where you're trying to save some animal from something that is trying to cause their extinction. This is an expansion around monarch butterflies. Forgotten Depths is going to be a light dungeon crawl puzzle sort of game. I am interested in this one. I love the artwork. I am less in love with the artwork and what this game looks like with that $60 price tag. Greater Than Games has The Cube, Area 51. Work with the other Area 51 department heads to rebuild an alien spaceship. Fine. Same with The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. These are themes that are interesting, but nothing from any of these games really sells me on it. I just sold all the Sentinels, the multiverse stuff that I had, which helped me get this game table, which I'm very fine with that trade. So I'm not going to be picking up the new version of Sentinels. Grey Fox Games has After the Empire. This one looks cool. Also looks a bit heavier than I would want, where you're building up your defenses for these castles, collecting resources, things like that. Building out the castle, you get things for it. It looks fun. Looks too heavy for who I play with. Arcana Rising. Oh, only the deluxe version will be available. This one was on Kickstarter. okay ratings. I'd have to play it and test it out. Hatchet Games, In the Palm of Your Hand. Limited communication, deduction party game. Yeah, there's a lot of games coming out right now with that limited communication. Doesn't interest me as much. Heidelberg Games. Animal Poker. This is a reprint of a game from 1988. I've heard decent things about it. 6.6 says it's fine. Hungry Monkey, a ladder climbing game. Basically, you're trying to play out cards in ascending order. Again, that and Sweet and Spicy, bluffing hand management game. It looks fine. Helvetique has Art Robbery from Reiner Knizia. Take that game, I'm out. K3. That looks like a very abstract mountain climbing game. Not super interested. Patient Zero. Two labs compete to find an antidote that will save Patient Zero and all of humanity. That is a theme that normally I would not be that interested in. Right now, I'm even less interested in it. Star Scrappers. We have a few different Star Scrappers things here. We have Cave-In. We have Orbital. I was going to say, I thought there was another one, but maybe there's another one that is getting play tested at Gen Con. Don't know anything about them. They clearly kind of picked their lane. Hexy Studio, also at the Ares Games booth. Maybe one that I'd check out. Hit 'em with a Shoe. We have Dirt Dog, a drafting game, drafting team-based game. Looks fine. And then, because it's very close to Hit 'em with a Shoe, we have the Red Burnous, Algeria 1857, a war game. Horrible Guild has Evergreen coming out. I'm interested in this one because it is Horrible Guild and because it is Hjalmar Hawk. And I really enjoy most games that Horrible Guild puts out. So this is one I really want to try. Yellow has Get On Board. This is originally from Sashi and Sashi. Just a new version of that. As well as then a big box of King of Tokyo, which I am interested in just because it'd be fun to have more. I don't play it that often, though. And yeah, Nas, Horrible Guild, definitely a big fan of theirs. I haven't played probably one of the games that a lot of people love from them, King's Dilemma, just because I haven't found a group to do that with yet. We have Aeon Zen Legacy of Gravehold. Already own that. Make It Happen. So a small dress making game, maybe? That's what it seems like to me anyways. Kind of a fun theme, and also interesting that it's 2 to 12 players. Probably not one it might be one I check out, but probably not one that I ever buy. Quest Avalon, big box. Social deduction, straight up. The Sherlock Files. This is deduction cooperative, like solve a murder mystery. This is the 4th expansion for it. I say expansion, each one of them is standalone. I'm intrigued by it. I'd love to be able to pick up something used. Block and Key, 3D kind of block pushing puzzle game. Probably one that I would only play solo, but looks cool. And now we go to... Actually, I kind of want to spend a fair amount of time at Japanime Games booth just to try their games. Because Chainsomnia sounds weird. Cooperative trying to escape a nightmare. But the issue with Japanime, for me, as a whole is they have a lot of games with kind of cool themes, very anime adjacent stuff, or straight up anime, and they tend to be okay games at best. Kawaigama Battles, this is an expansion for Kawaigama Battles, Battle of the Nine Realms. Okay, I'm actually curious. 7.3, not too bad. I mean, it's ranked 7,500, but it has a very limited number of ratings. Came out in 2018. Must have done well enough. Obviously, gets an expansion. Deck building, hand management, looks like. More for that game? Or no, this is a standalone. With the old ones instead. Here's another expansion for it. Then we have Latria, or Latria, drafting game, drafting auction game. Yeah, Japanime game is just so hit or miss. And well, so miss. So it looks pretty and generally is a miss. Margot, Push Your Luck Game, Night Clan, Area Majority. They tend to make like small games that probably need a little bit more going on. Keen Bean Studios has Roll Camera, B-Movie expansion. So this is a heavier movie looking game, or making game, than it looks like, or at least a little bit drier on the board with what you're doing. I'm interested in games about making movies, not super interested in this one. We have Caper Europe, a drafting game, 2-player game only. I'd be more interested. Well, I've heard very good things about this, but it's a 2-player game only. That limits it for me being that interested. Parks, haven't played Parks. This is an expansion for it. Kids Table Board Games has Power Plants. This is a game about plants producing power for what you're doing. Interesting. I like the artwork. Knapsack Games has Masters of Mutanite. 60 retail copies will be available, so barely available at all. A deck building game. I am interested. I'm not going to be rushing to get this one, but if that first day while wandering past their booth they still have, I might pick it up. Reloaded from Colossal Games, a battle royale. I have no idea what movie, TV, radio theme this is, but it looked fun when it was on Kickstarter. Cosmos has Adventure Games and Cartaventura. So these are going to be, again, escape room style games. There's Catch the Moon, which has been out for quite a while. Not sure why it's here. Again, more escape room style games with advent calendars, which actually are tempting because that'd be something fun to do, is bust open a new door every day around Christmas and just a little bit of something. I probably will grab this one because it is Middle of the Earth themed. I think I can probably get that to the table fast. I'm almost on my Negroni. And I'm on K. I'm like halfway done. Oh my goodness, I'm halfway done at 9:20. I might have to split this up. But then more exit games as well. Karak, children's game. Fine. Probably not paying $40 for a children's game when I have a 3-year-old. Switch and Signal. This one, This one I actually think might move fairly quickly because it's a cooperative like train game, and both Chris and Wendy Yee from the Dice Tower had it on their top 100, I believe. So it has that little bit of hype and has been, I think, a little bit harder to find. Looney Labs, we have Flux, 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 Flux. Oh, for Flux sake. Flux is fine. The issue with Flux is that it sometimes... They say 5 to 30 minutes. It's very rare that it's 5. You're probably looking at 20 minutes at the shorter end. And then sometimes it just goes long, and all of a sudden you're at 60 minutes of this really simple card game. Olympus Lunacy, pattern recognition card game. Race to get rid of all the cards in your hand. Again, well, 5 to 10 minutes, at least that is faster. And Privateer Press, I'm not sure. We'll see if we get down that far. We should this time. My plan is to go to about 10, and depending on where we are on the list, maybe push through to a finale, just get everything done. Name the Thing, party game. Name the Thing, not safe for work expansion. No, Name the Thing, retail hell. Well, there are a whole bunch more Name the Thing type things. It'll go real fast because that doesn't interest me at all. Lucky Duck Games has It's a Wonderful Kingdom. This is going to be the 2-player, well, 1 to 2 player version-ish of It's a Wonderful World. Haven't played It's a Wonderful World. It's a Wonderful Kingdom. The artwork looks great. I just don't know it's a need for me to get it. Luminary has Evian, Evian, Evian. This is going to be a kind of hero building as you build up for glory. So Fatal, you have until, let's see, what day is it again? You have until the 4th to let me know how Kingdom is. Yeah, Evian has just shown up places. I remember this one on Kickstarter. It looked cool because you're kind of battling different classes and leveling up. And it's not a bad deal to be able to grab all 3 of them for 100. Then we have Mixlore. Mixlore, they are the wing of Asmodee that has, I believe, all 3 of the IP ones that are coming out. I mean, they have a July 2022 date, but it is fairly limited. So Ozark, Squid Games. Ooh, maybe it's a different one that has... yeah, I noticed that it blipped for a half second there. That it was weird. I have no connection to Ozark or Squid Game. I've heard, I feel like I should watch Squid Game just because so many people talk about it, but those games, not that interested. Modifius has Spectre, the board game. And yeah, be the villain for Bond. And I know that this cover is actual Bond cover, but it just doesn't impress me. Mr. B Games has a World War II built for war game. Hellenica. The most interesting one is Thunder Rolls. This is going to be a NASCAR racing game. And yes, I am 100% a replicant. You're not supposed to be pointing that out to people. That's fairly rude to point out when somebody's a replicant. I'm a little bit interested in this one. It looks like a bigger racing game. And you get a free promo and a $10 discount at Gen Con. Not bad. Nauvoo Games. They have Pinpoint here, a party game with limited communication. Like I said, limited communication. It's huge. Not that interested. Already own Steel Slayer. I wish it could fit in the big box, or the main box. Yes, I said that I have not watched Squid Game. Yeah, I am not here for any contractions. Let's be very clear about that. Next Move Games, also Plan B Games, has Azul Queen Garden. Have not played any Azul. Don't think this is where I'm going to dive in. North Star Games, this one is interesting for me. This is a deduction game where you're trying to stay ahead of the Queen of Hearts. Each of you knows a little bit of what you need to do to get the garden and the roses painted in a way that she likes them. And that deluxe version looks real nice. Let's just say that is something I would consider spending the $85 on. Though I go into Gen Con with a budget, which means can't buy deluxe on everything. Nuts Publishing has War Game, War in the Middle East, This War Without an Enemy, never playing Azul again. Well, if you drive through Minnesota, you can be guaranteed that you won't play it here, because at this point in time, like, I'll play Azul, but it will never be a copy that I own. It's a point of pride, completely unbased pride, that I will never buy a copy of Azul. Somebody gives me a copy, fine. Deep Sea Adventures has an expansion from Oink Games. I'd actually be interested in this. I'd be more interested in trying out Deep Sea Adventure. Diamond Swap, another Oink game. This is going to be a bluffing, social deduction kind of game. Order Overload Cafe, a memory game of matching orders. This one I am very interested in. Here, Scout, this one was up for the... Was it up for the Spiel des Jahres? Yeah, and they say this is out of stock. This is a ladder climbing game. And the interesting thing is you have your hand of cards that you can decide which way they go. Because if you flip the cards upside down in your hand, the numbers are different. But you can never reorder the cards in your hand. You can maybe do that at the beginning. I don't think so. So I'm really interested in this one. I highly doubt I'll get a copy of this because this is going to go fast. Town 66. Hand Management, Pattern Building. Spiel nominated. Yep. The Op. The Op is another company that tends to have games that I will not be that interested in, with the exception of Marvel Dice Throwing, which I think is being distributed through the Op, even though that is mainly a Roxley design. We have Disney Sorcerer's Arena, based off of the app. It's a head-to-head battling game. I guess 2 to 4 players, probably really a 2-player game. They can split up control of things. Mountains Out of Molehills. This is a 2-level kind of movement, King of the Hill thing. I've heard that it is sufficiently fine. Smash Up. I used to own Smash Up. It is fine. Ven actually interests me because I just want to know how it works, because you're trying to get that little bit in the middle kind of matched up. I wonder if it's potentially a little bit like So Clover, which if it is, then I definitely don't need it because I already own So Clover, and So Clover is amazing. Osprey Games, we have Crescent Moon, asymmetric area control with negotiations. It's not that interesting. To me, again, area control is a little challenging for me to be like, okay, I want to grab another area control game when I don't play my top two that much. Cryptid Urban Legends, 2-player game that is not Cryptid. It's Urban Legends. They stuck the Cryptid name on front, which Cryptid is a deduction game. I'd be very interested in trying that one. But this one, not so much. Undaunted Stalingrad, a deck-building war game. I'm curious about them. If I can find one of the Undaunteds used, I'll probably pick it up. Probably, if I can find Undaunted Normandy, especially that's the first one, probably grab it. Village Rails, a route-building train game. Pandasaurus Games, so we are getting close to Privateer Press, alphabetically. Oh, maybe I was thinking of Nacho Pile. There might be 2 nacho-themed games, nacho chip-themed games coming out. The Loop, this is an abstract game. I believe where you're playing the game on like 3 different boards, and it influences the other boards with what you do. Nacho Pile is a press your luck game of drawing things out of a bag. Skate Summer, a skating game where you're trying to collect all the letters to get you up to Skater. Not that interested. Same with Skull Canyon Ski Fest, a hand management game about hitting the slopes. Sobek, this is a 2-player game. I'm curious about this one. And yeah, the Loop is one that I would love to try. I suspect the Loop is one that I will try, be like, okay, this is cool. But if I were to bring it home to my collection, I would never play it. Wild Style. So probably tagging a city in real time. Not that interested. Pegasus Spiel has Battle Through History. Time traveling armies. Die rolling. It's a theme that is intriguing, but also it again falls into that category of when would I play it? Probably not that much, so probably a pass. Bubble Trouble, a dexterity kids game, also a pass. Carnegie, this is again one of those, I think was this on Kickstarter? Or this one has gotten fairly solid buzz. This is going to be a heavy Euro game with that 120 to 180 minute time frame. Not for me. Deadly Dinner, Red Carpet and Runes, a deduction game. Compete with other suspects to identify the murderer. Is this actually deduction or is it social deduction? Because if it is social, that better actually be deduction, because that's 3 to 4 hours. So that better be like a dinner mystery party. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'll click on that one just so I remember. Dwarves Cooperative. Yeah, 240 is though 240 if you plan it out with what it says 5 to 7 players or 6 to 8. So get a couple couples together, and everybody brings something for dinner. You do a fancy dinner, hang out, you have some wine, you have beer, whatever, and you play that throughout the whole night, because I'm assuming it's a game that's made to go fairly slowly. Fire and Stone, worker placement. not great ratings. I'll pass. This one I find funny for the theme, where it is rats collecting scrap to build a rocket to get to the moon because the moon is made of cheese. Funny theme. I'd be interested in checking it out just for the theme. Framework from Uwe Rosenberg. Solo, well, not a solo only game, but tile placement, abstract game that doesn't look that interesting. Fife, tile placement game. I'm assuming kind of a Carcassonne themed style game. Yeah. Definitely do need more rodent-based game or vermin-based games. I do have the Rat Catcher, which I need to play. I need to learn and play still. We have Happy Hopping, kids game, set collection. We have Raccoon Robbers, a push your luck game of searching garbage cans for food, which actually sounds kind of fun and decent length, everything, but $35 MSRP, a little bit steep. Sky Mines is an Alexander Pfister game. This, I can't remember, this is a re-implementation. Yeah, this is a re-implementation of Mombasa, which people didn't love. Well, Mombasa is harder to find right now, and people don't necessarily love the theme because it is about colonization. So you throw it in mining in space, more interesting. We have Spaceship Unity. Story space game. Interesting, they call it a game system too. Oh, I'm going to add that to the ones I would like to check out. Trollmania. Dexterity movement animal game. Looks like it's for kids, so I mean, if I'm at the Pegasus Spiel booth, I'll probably check it out. Pendragon Game Studios has an expansion for The Thing, which we have down here, semi-cooperative, so, I mean, if you know the story of The Thing, you'll know why. Perplexed has only one game that they're talking about here, and this will be one that flies off the shelves so fast. A roll and write horse racing game. I'm very interested in this one, but I'm not going to rush to grab it, especially with that $30 MSRP. Phalanx has 1941, Race for Moscow, Pick 'em Deliver train game, as well as Successors, the 4th edition of that. Don't know anything about that. Richard Berg is a big designer in war games, so it makes sense that it is that. Phase Shift Games has expansions for Dungeon Drop. This is going to be a cooperative kind of dungeon-esque crawling thing, but you're dropping down cubes, trying to get them in certain areas so to activate things. Their games tend to come in these cube-shaped boxes. Tavern Tales, a social deduction thing. Plaid Hat Games has expansions for Ashes Reborn. They have Familiar Tales. This is going to be the next in that storybook line from Jerry Hawthorne. So with the likes of Mice and Mystics, Aftershock, and I completely blanked on the other one. But yeah, those story-based style games, as well as then expansions for Summoner Wars. Summoner Wars is a head-to-head card game that I really should try. And Nas, which one did you want? The Familiar Tales? Fair amount of Summoner Wars. Plan B Games has Equinox. This one has been out for a little bit, but maybe just 2021. And there's been a few different ones for it. Portal Games has Brazil. This one. Yeah, so these are the expansions for the second edition of Summoner Wars. So they've started to release a whole bunch of those. So a few Euro games from Portal Games with Brazil. This one had limited release elsewhere. Portal Games is bringing it to US. Gutenberg, about the printing press. 2 Euro-style games. Not that interesting for me. Pretzel Games has Yak. This one I've started to hear a little bit more about. Don't know that much about it. Be one I'd be interested in checking out. Queen Games. We have Old London Bridge. Worker Placement, which is very standard for Queen Games. Not that interested. R&R. So yeah, we don't have anything here from Privateer Press. So R&R has Bug Off, a kid's game. Dom Perrier, a game about champagne. That is true. The art on Yak is really good. Ferret Out, a party game. So nothing from R&R game jumps out at me. Randolph, going to be at the Hatchet board game booth. Party game. Oh, really? Meh. It's a party game. Rather Dashing Games has Coyote Peterson's Wild Adventure, which is he is a Canadian, apparently, I believe, or Canadian television show, something like that. Don't know anything about this, but I mean that cover alone is something. There's a Kratz Creatures game as well. Not that interested in anything, unfortunately, from Rather Dashing Games. Ravensburger then has an expansion for Villainous. Explorers, which is... I've heard decent things about that. I'm interested in the Great British Breaking Show game just because it is that theme. Real Time also has me not interested in it. Star Wars Villainous, I'm interested because it is Star Wars. Rebel Studios has Chronicles of Avel. This is going to be a kids kind of dungeon crawl exploration game. The expansion for Meadow is going to be a hand management kind of, you lay out your different locations, and then so like you might lay out a mouse, but then you can take out the mouse with a ferret, you take out the ferret with something else. Downstream is going to add a river mechanic to it. I'm not sure Avel will, because I've seen that in stock several times at local game stores, because it has been out for a bit at this point. Meadow, if they have Meadow, this expansion will be gone instantly. The base game of Meadow might be gone instantly. Red Raven Games is bringing out Nightfall, a grid movement fantasy fighting game. Great artwork, because it is Red Raven Games, but not one I'm super interested in. Red Shift has Tacopocalypse, a drafting pusher luck game in a nuclear world of taco trucks. Okay. It's at the Catalyst Games Labs booth. Know nothing about that. That is a hilarious tagline, at least. Unicorn Stew. I mean, it is weird. Redshift Games definitely put out some weird games. Renegade Studios has Thy Will Be Done, second edition, as well as the deluxe and expansion. This is going to be kind of a worker placement style game about the Crusades, or basically building up your engine, really. G.I. Joe deck building game. They have an expansion for that. This one, I'm going to put this as a must-have with what I'm hearing about it. My Father's Work. This is a big game. This is an event of a game where you're playing as basically Frankenstein or a mad scientist trying to complete experiments, and you're doing it over 3 different generations. There's a ton of story. From what I can tell, this is 180 minutes is about spot on, no matter the player count. My Little Pony deck building game. Unfortunately, at this point in time, that is going to be a pass for me. Power Rangers deck building game. There's a lot of deck building games, as well as Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. Just going to be kind of a fighting game where you fight off different bad guys. This is just going to give you more content for that. Transformers deck building game. Like I said, they do a lot of deck building games at Renegade Studios. And then I believe that technically this is not a deck building game. This is a deck construction game, so Magic the Gathering style. Not one I'm super interested in. It doesn't have like the TCG feel to it, but still not so interested. Let me check the time again here. Oh, I'm doing pretty well. I've been blitzing through this past little bit. Repos Games is the one who is doing the Stranger Things game. This one I honestly do not believe I will like. It is a social deduction game. You are trying to figure out who the Mind Flayer has infected. I'm going to be waiting so excitedly for the Simon retail Stranger Things game by Rob Davio. I'm hoping that it's a little bit Cthulhu Death May Die-esque, but I will 100% be grabbing that. This one I might even grab. 5.5 it's getting a rating of 5.5 just because people are rating it being pissed off that this isn't the Stranger Things game that I wanted, and then other people are rating it being like, well, we're going to rate it really well to counteract the people who are rating that this game is garbage. Yeah, tons of 2s. Really bad Mafia style game. It's going to be a Mafia style game. There's going to be player elimination. There's going to be stuff like that. It's not going to interest me. Except for the theme. I'd try it because of the theme. Resonim, we have Phantom Inc., a deduction party game with limited communication. Again, there's the buzzword right now, limited communication. Rio Grande has an update pack for Hinterlands, as well as Hinterlands 2nd Edition, Prosperity update pack, Prosperity 2nd Edition, Seaside update pack, Seaside 2nd Edition, all for Dominion. A game that is an easy pass for me. An expansion for Race for the Galaxy. Have not played Race for the Galaxy. It's probably one I should get under my belt just because I feel like it's probably going to be a game that I like. But I haven't sought it out yet. Space Station Phoenix. Building up a space station by breaking down some spaceships. Interesting theme. Rio Grande is a hard sell for me at this point. So many of their games look very dry. Transamerica being one of those. Le Scorpion Masque. We have the Turing Machine, a deduction game. The Crypto Studios' next game that has you cracking codes. using real analog computer. That is an interesting theme. Not that interested. I put this one as a must-have coming up here. I really want to go to the booth, check this out. I have Oathsworn coming. There's an upcoming Kickstarter. If you want to get it now, because it is going to be talked about a ton now, this might be the spot to get it. It's going to be hard to find otherwise, or you're going to be paying a huge markup on the secondhand market. Slugfest Games is putting out Red Dragon Inn 8, the next expansion for that. Red Dragon Inn game, I have a love-hate relationship. It is a 2 to 4 player game, but as you get more and more expansions, you technically have more and more characters, so you could have more and more people playing, but that makes the game take more and more time. And this is a game that I think at 3 or 4 players would be great, because it's going to hit that 30-minute, maybe 60 if you're going real slow. But if everybody's at least somewhat familiar with the game, probably 30 to 45 minutes, which is going to be perfect for the length of the game. Smirk and Dagger has The Spill. This one was on Kickstarter. A cooperative game cleaning up after an oil spill. Looks fine. Didn't sell me on it. On Kickstarter, Smirk and Laughter has Boop. Yeah, Red Dragon is still going, but it's also one of those, they have their core fan base, or they have the core people who are buying the game, so they're just going to keep on buying it. Smirk and Laughter has Boop, a pattern building game of animals. It's a cute cat. Solus Game Studios has Pocket Paragons, Angus. Pocket Paragons Origin. Rock, paper, scissors style game. Real fast from the looks of it. Probably a pass. And they have a number of those. This would be one I'd try out. See if it's one that, if it's a good 5-minute game, well, one that you can knock out a few times while sitting with somebody at a brewery, I'd be more interested. Spin Master Games is going to have The Godfather. Card playing game. Probably a pass. Not a theme that I really need a game of. Less is more. Party game. Use few letters to score points. So creating a clue with the fewest letters possible to get somebody to guess a word. It's intriguing, but it's also a party game, not that interested. Marvel United X-Men, already own. Marvel Zombies, which technically falls under Spin Master because they're the ones who hold the Disney license, not Simon. There's no way that there's... Oh, well, there is a retail version which looks like a pared down version of the base game that you could get on the Kickstarter. It's fairly confusing. So maybe this will be out. And maybe I'll grab it. I'm interested to at least sit down and play it. Stoneblade Games has Soul Forge. This is going to be a deck building style game, deck construction game. I believe, I can't remember, this might be one where it has that unique deck system that Fantasy Flight used for Keyforge, though now somebody else has bought out Keyforge. Christian Peterson has. We have Viticulture World, a cooperative expansion for viticulture. Haven't played viticulture. I don't really care to. We have the fancy expansion version of it. From Strange Machines, we have Ogre Sandwich and Robotech Reconstruction. I believe that both of these, so when I was going through the games available for demo, these are actually not going to be for sale. The guy was on the stream for that, chatting with me, and he was saying that there's no way to go back and edit it. He didn't realize that by putting in MSRP, they'd be like, okay, it's going to be for sale. This may be for pre-order, but it's going to be at least there for demoing. Stronghold Games has an expansion for Australia, a Cthulhu-themed train game. Actually, 2 expansions for it. There is Dulce, about creating wonderful desserts for $40, a card game. Studio H has Northgard. This is based off of a video game, 4X Viking game. I am interested. I want to see this. I don't think it's one I'd pick up because it doesn't have solo. Suspects, another one I'm interested in, a cooperative murder mystery, and 60 to 90 minutes, slightly better than 240 minutes. Synapsis Games, we have Beta. It's about fish. Looks small and light. Same with Draw the Line. That's going to be a party game. Thunderworks Games. I will probably pick up 3 of these things they have here. We have Cartographers, and Cartographers. Some more maps. 10 Penny Parks. Not interested in that. I'm hoping that they have Lockup, which is in their role player world, to at least be able to check out. Trick or Treat Studios. This is all horror stuff, and we have a deck construction game about vampires. This is the one that I'm interested in mostly. It is about making a movie, and Nightmare Productions, this game actually has existed with other names. So yeah, originally Silver Screen, which re-implemented Nightmare Productions, which re-implemented Silver Screen. There are a few different versions of this. But basically, it is a bidding movie-making game. Looks like a lot of fun. Then a drafting game from Bruno Faiduti about trolls. All of their games are going to be horror-themed. And then World Z League is going to be a rubber band shooting game, I think, which sounds hilarious and great. Twin City Games has Animal of Espionage, a bluffing I Cut You Choose game. Ubisoft has Orlog. This was the Assassin's Creed Valhalla dice game that showed up on Kickstarter that apparently has been very average. Unexpected Games, they have their 3000 Scoundrels there for demo, which I'm interested in. Voices in My Head, a courtroom game, a humorous courtroom game. I'm not that interested. Upper Deck Entertainment, we have expansions for Legendary, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't love Legendary. Makes it easy. Van Ryder Games has graphic novel adventure games, as well as theoretically Final Girl, some stuff. I have all the Final Girl Season 1 stuff that I don't own already coming, so easy enough to pass. Graphic novel adventures are definitely more intriguing. There's Keepers, a party deduction game. Looks fine. More graphic novel adventures. Even more. Vesuvius Media has Catapult Feud. This is a fun game where you're launching stones at your opponent's castle with a catapult. I own both of these. I have backed more of it. And they also have a nice economic rail game, because, you know, they're similar in style. Launching stuff. Railroads. I don't know how you could see the difference. Vigor Games has Monsters and the Things That Destroy Them. The Dead. A little bluffing horror game that I don't care that there's only 150 copies. I'm not going to be seeking this one out. Weird Giraffe Games has Gift of the Tulips, area control game, trying to get your tulips so that they are the most beautiful for a festival. Studies in sorcery. Contract fulfillment. Fine. Expansion for that. Wicked and Wise, a trick-taking game. I am intrigued so much more in trick-taking games now, but I would have to see this one. We'll give it an interested. WizKids, we have Dice Conquest, a cooperative game. Marvel Remix, this is going to be a new version, Marvel version of Fantasy Realms. This one I'm interested in because I'm interested in Fantasy Realms, and this one puts Marvel on top of it. Yosemite, strategy game to get the best pictures of animals. Fine. Zygomatic, we have Spot It Mandalorian. Spot It is a fine game, and woof. 10:04. Okay, so considering I had no audio for the first 13 minutes because I messed that up and nobody was on the stream yet, that actually is pretty good. So there we go. That is a ton of stuff that is coming out at Gen Con in 2022. I did a previous video for games that are available to demo at Gen Con in 2022. There are going to be more games that are not on either of those lists there. But let me know what interests you the most. Which ones would you be running to check out? Would there be any that you'd be running to buy? I suspect like this Marvel remix of Fantasy Realms might sell pretty well. I don't feel the need to run to check out any of these games, but I'm sure there will be people running for a lot of them. Oh yeah, Final Girl for sure. I would probably be running for that if I didn't already have the core game and 2 of the feature film boxes, and if I hadn't backed the Kickstarter for the second season and added on the other 2 that I was missing. But yeah, Final Girl for sure will be going fast, especially that's been impossible to find. But with that, it's time for me to try and get some sleep. Time for me to drink some water so I don't completely lose my voice. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that this has been a fun time. If it has, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to know when I go live, generally every Monday, about 8:30, sometimes at 9. It depends on how quickly I can get other things done. And then every Wednesday at 8. Most streams, about an hour. But obviously when you're going through a ridiculous amount, 395 games and expansions, it might take a little bit longer. But yeah, if you want to know, click that subscribe, click that notification bell. And with that, bottoms up.